and welcome back to Let's Get Lit. In today's video, we're going to go over Stave 5, the final chapter of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So let's see how this classic Christmas tale ends, and let's prepare to feel all the warm and fuzzies inside, shall we? Alright, let's start the fifth and final chapter of A Christmas Carol. This chapter starts out with Scrooge realizing he's back in his own bed, in his own room, in his own place. At the sight of all of this, Scrooge has never been happier. He explained that he will live in the past, the present, and the future, and the three spirits shall strive within him. He realized his bed curtains were there, and he was overwhelmed with happiness. Scrooge was so excited and so full of cheer that he even knew what time it was, on what day it was. So he opened the windows and looked out on the streets below. He noticed how beautiful of a day it was, and he sees a young lad walking past. He asks what day it is, and the boy responds, "It's Christmas Day." Scrooge realizes that he hasn't missed it at all, and the spirits all visited him in one night. He then asks the boy if the poulterer the next street over is still in. The boy says yes, and Scrooge asks if the big prize turkey had already been sold. The little boy says no, and Scrooge asks him to go get it. At first, the little boy is not so sure, but Scrooge reassures him and says if he can go get the large turkey, he would give him a shilling, and that if he could be back in less than 5 minutes, he'd give him half a crown. And so the young boy was off to go get that turkey for Scrooge. A few minutes later, the little boy came back with the huge turkey. Scrooge says that he'll send it to Bob Cratchit, and realizes it's so big that he may not be able to carry it all the way across town. So he decides to get a cab and send it over. Scrooge gets ready, shaves his face, and dresses himself in all of his best. He then goes outside and he can see the hustle and bustle of the city just as it was during the night before with the ghost of Christmas present. While on the streets, he saw the two businessmen that had come in the day before asking for donations. He stops them and wishes them a Merry Christmas, and the men do as well. Scrooge then stops them and gives them a donation to the gentleman's surprise. The gentlemen are just about to thank Scrooge when Scrooge says not to mention it at all and that there is more where that came from. Scrooge then goes to church, and after church wanders around the streets. He then heads over to his nephew's house and knocks on the door. The nice young lady opens the door and welcomes him in. He asks if he may see Fred, and that Fred knows him. So she leads him upstairs, and Scrooge opens the door to the dining room, where he sees Fred, his niece, and he's overwhelmed with happiness. And Fred is overwhelmed at seeing his Uncle Scrooge there. Scrooge asks if he may stay for dinner, and Fred says of course you can. Not long after, everyone comes in and they all have a wonderful party with merriment, laughter, and good food. The next day, Scrooge goes into his office and makes sure that he's early. He can't wait to see Bob Cratchit. 9 o'clock comes, no Bob. 5 minutes later, no Bob. It's not until 18 minutes after 9 that Bob comes in through the door. Scrooge watches him come in, growls a hello at him. Scrooge asks, "What do you mean by coming in at this time of day?" Bob apologizes and said he's behind time, and it's only once a year, and that he's very sorry. Scrooge replies, "As you are, and that he should step this way." Bob thinks he's in trouble, as Scrooge is saying to come near him. But Scrooge then says that he's about to raise his salary. At first, Bob thinks Scrooge has gone crazy, but Scrooge reassures him that he's going to raise his salary after all. He wishes Bob a Merry Christmas. The narrator notes that for the rest of Ebenezer Scrooge's life, he was a good man, as one could be. He kept true to his word the rest of his life, and made sure to keep Christmas in his heart. Tiny Tim did not die, and became just as great a master as one could ever be. The narrator notes that some people did not truly believe in Ebenezer's change, or had a hard time. Scrooge paid no mind to these people, for he knew that he was going to live the rest of his days holding the values of the three spirits. And so, in the words of Tiny Tim, God bless us, everyone. This is where A Christmas Carol ends. That concludes our series on Charles Dickens' famous A Christmas Carol. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it and going over this story with us. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season with your family, your friends, your loved ones. Merry Christmas to all, and God bless us, everyone. Bye.